All right. I am Danielle Porter, and I am the leader of Team Nourished, and I wanted to come today and make a team training on being a storyteller. I find that a lot of times when you're a new coach, it's just very overwhelming to start crafting posts, and even if you're an experienced coach, you do kind of get into a rhythm of needing to remind yourself of storytelling. And so storytelling from a good perspective, every story that you tell is building a weave of connection within your post. That's building what I affectionately term as the connective tissue. That's the stuff that holds you to the people that you're speaking to, your audience. And so there is a ton of training in the Good Vibe Tribe training site. There's a ton of training in Soul Warriors and Together Rising, and just whatever team you're watching this from, there is a ton. Set Your Soul on Fire, all of that. There is a ton of training on storytelling. But I want to kind of make this super succinct and be able to watch this. And then if you feel like you need to touch more into other areas, then you can go further into specific areas instead of trying to get all the pieces and then put them together. So the number one thing that I want to talk about today is why it's important to develop your storytelling muscle. It's important because you can speak to a lot of people on social media, but you're not speaking. If you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So you really have to hone in who it is you're speaking to. Every single post that you make, you're going to be speaking to someone. A little mind exercise that I try to do. So typically I do it one of two ways, depending on the post, right? So if it's a super, super vulnerable post, I act like I'm writing to my best friend. Like whoever that is, act like I'm writing. I will sit at my computer and type. And most of the time I don't even type it into the post. I type it into a Word document or the notes on my phone. And I will sit there and type. And sometimes I'll use the person's name. I'll say Erica or Matt, or if I'm speaking, in a loving kind of way or whatever. I find someone and I fixate my mind on the fact that I'm talking to them. I'm telling them about this. And then I go back and I edit it. I take out their name. I make it a little more generalized, and then I post it. So any kind of what you'd call epic posts, meaning 5 paragraphs or more, and it is vulnerable. You're sharing something from your heart. You do really need to pretend that you're writing to someone in particular. That way it feels more natural. It doesn't feel like you're posting to get a reaction. You just feel like you're posting because you have something on your heart you really feel like you need to share. The other way that I post and craft what's called breadcrumbing, which are the shorter little snippet posts that you do, I craft those to fit my customer that I'm talking to. So my avatar, there's tons of avatar training. You can go look it up between our team and other teams. There's just tons and tons of avatar training. But basically a short version is an avatar is your ideal customer. Who is your ideal customer? There's lots and lots of ways to figure that out, but crafting your post to them. And again, another easy way to do that is at the top of the month, write down 5 people's names that you really feel like would benefit from your group that you know on social media that follow you, and start writing your posts with those people in mind. Start writing your posts that address those people that you've talked to's concerns. Obviously, you're not going to use their name. You're not going to say, hey, Cindy, you said that money was an objection. Let me tackle that. But you just kind of talk in your posts about that objection. And so that's a really good way of talking to your audience. And it's funny because once you start talking to that one specific person, lots of people are going to receive that message. It's not just going to be that one person, even though you're like, oh, I don't want to write to just that one person. All the other people will then read it, identify themselves as that one person, and they build another layer of connective tissue. And so again, that's what all of this is about, is building connective tissue, because part of what we do as Beachbody coaches is we don't sell in the typical terms of, I have a product, you have a need, I'm selling you this product to fit your need. What we do is we share. We share what works for us. There's a great exercise out there. You can Google this, or I think it's in the Soul Warriors documentation called Feel, Felt, Found. And that's another really easy way to craft a post. I feel this way, or felt, is it felt, feel, found? Feel, felt, found. I feel this way. I used to feel, I felt this way, and I found an answer. So those are kind of little connective tissues. So you're bringing the present, you start with the present, middle is the past, and then you discuss what you found that fixed that felt. That's a really good way, even in conversation with potential clients, potential coaches, you talk about the way you feel, the way you felt, and what you found. Those words conjure up feelings in other people. What you want to do is, and my goal in teaching this storyteller training is to help people understand the connection to that me too feeling. That's really, really important. For my business personally, that's the most important thing. I want, when people read my post, for them to say internally, me too. No matter what that is. And granted, not everyone's going to feel like me, and that's okay. Those aren't my people, and that's okay. But the ones who deeply desire that me too feeling are going to get that. If you're crafting your posts in a way that create that me too feeling, if you're sharing your experience, you're sharing what you found to solve this problem that you had, that's a way to build those connective tissues. I will kind of stop here in my training to talk about vulnerability, because I've been a coach for 3.5 years, and I have been through lots and lots of coaches on my personal team. I've known lots and lots of coaches throughout this network. And I will say that's one of the biggest things that trip people up is the vulnerability part. They don't want to share. That's why you get these vague booking posts. That's why the default for that person's post is their workout. Like, oh, all I have to do is post my workout. Day 48-80 of 80-day obsession. My legs are on fire. And then there's a picture of them doing a workout move. That evokes no feeling. That does not sell or share anything. That's a telling post. I told you what I did. That's it. Those are the posts that you're like, oh, cool, Danielle's doing a leg workout. You just keep scrolling. That evokes no desire to join in what that person is doing. What we're trying to do is build desire to join what you're doing. So talking about one of the posts that I crafted a long time ago about a leg day, I talked about what my legs have done for me. I told a story about, I want to say, and I wish I had pulled that one. I pulled a couple other storytelling ones that are really, really good. But I think it said something about these legs have carried me up mountains in Mexico. They have carried me here. They've carried me here. They've carried babies up and down hallways at midnight. They've carried the weight of, my father's death, like all, and I don't have to tell a big story about each one of those things, but every single one of those little tiny pieces that I wrote in there is a breadcrumb that allows people to get to know me better. And there is vulnerability in there. There is a little bit of sharing that could be potentially scary for people. Like maybe other people would struggle with the fact that their father died when they were young, or younger. So they don't want to share that. Well, that's a piece that's going to connect me with another woman who has lost their father. And they're going to build, that's another web of that connective tissue. Because the thing is, and this is where a lot of coaches get tripped up, I feel like they believe, if I just write a really good post, that's enough. People will just reach out to me. And what you have to understand is that social media, the actual posting of a post, is not enough. Like, it just isn't enough. All you're doing in a social media post is building connective tissue, forming these invisible relationships with somebody. Like, that's the point of all social media, is for when somebody reads something to be inspired, to be educated, to add value to their life. And that's kind of the way that I structure my posts. Am I adding value? Am I, what did I just say? I lost my train of thought. Am I adding value? Am I educating? Or am I inspiring? Those three things need to be the the foundation of your post. And and I'm not saying you can't post anything else, but those need to be the bedrock of your posts. You can throw up a post about, you know, I don't know, like this beautiful sunset, but that's just another piece of connective tissue. Now they know that you are visiting a beach or what, you know, whatever. You're just building these layers upon layers upon layers of connective tissue. So going back to being vulnerable, one of my key resources that I share with people all the time is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. That was a really instrumental book for me in being vulnerable. She is a researcher, so she speaks my heart language. She speaks evidence-based research, which is just, that's my thing. I don't like it when people just say what they think other people are thinking. I mean, she does neurological research and does years and years and years of research on people and sociology and all of that, and discovering the ways that people think. And what she talks about is the shame that is built in something when you don't share it, when you don't expose some of that. It is very easy for that to become a source of shame, whatever that is. And it's not to the point where you're, you know, she said there's a fine line between vomiting all of that up on people and being like this big, long, epic post of, and my dad died when I was 21, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Like, what's the point? Like, why are you sharing that? There has to be a point to why you're sharing that. It can't just be this word vomit of stuff. That doesn't work for people. Then you get people who are like, oh gosh, that was a lot. And then they're like, I'm going to keep scrolling, because it can't rest in the negativity. It has to be, again, that's where feel, felt, found wraps back in. You can't just write, I felt depressed. Like, what have you found to overcome that? You have to give it that silver lining. You have to give it that I overcame something, because what you're doing when you do that is telling people that it's going to be okay, that they are going to be okay, that they will not always feel this way. Because, you know, whether it's sad reality or just regular reality, the woman who is scrolling her Facebook feed at 11 o'clock at night when she's laying in the bed, and whatever that day has transpired for her, whether it's been an okay, decent day, or whether she hid in the closet and cried for 3 hours, like whatever that day brought to her, at the end of the day, you get the power by posting something on social media to help encourage her, to give her a word, to give her that feeling that it sucks and it's hard sometimes, but it's going to be okay. Look, I have walked through this, and I am providing you hope, in a sense. And that's been one of the coolest things as I've gained confidence in my posting, as I've grown through coaching. And I want to also make a big definitive note that I was none of this before coaching. I had no storytelling ability whatsoever. I was a word vomiter. I told people stuff just so that it would get out of my mouth. Like, it had no point. It had no purpose. It wasn't to inspire. It wasn't to educate. And it wasn't to add value to anyone else's life. It was just selfish motivation of speaking. Like, I just wanted to speak to hear my own voice kind of thing. But when you start reframing things in a mindset of, I can offer hope to someone in a situation, the language, the feel of what you're saying changes, the tone of it. So I would encourage everyone to read Daring Greatly. She just talks so much about that Me Too feeling and the beautiful gift we have inside of us, that we get to share what we've been through to help someone else. So I would highly, highly, highly encourage you to read that or listen to it on Audible. So getting to know you in everything you post. That's kind of back to what I was saying about breadcrumbing. Breadcrumbing is just offering little tiny bits and pieces of your story in your posts. You don't need, every single post does not need to be 5 paragraphs long. I would very highly encourage you not to do that. I would say at the most 3 to 4 times a week, you should have an epic post. No more than that, because then people are going to come to expect every single time they click on the see more part, they're like, oh God, this thing is going to open a whole new window. It's going to fill up my whole screen. I'm going to have to sit here and spend 10 minutes. Like, I might as well go to the bathroom if I'm going to read this. Like, You need to give them variety in what you post so that they don't not click it because they know that it's going to be long. Because I've done that to people. I'm like, oh gosh, I know all of our posts are super long, so I'll read the top seven. Oh yeah, we're good. You want people to engage with you. You want to build that connective tissue. And so adding variety, I think it's great to have a couple of posts, like one post during the day that's just one sentence or two sentences with a picture. And I'll get back to how to tie in the picture with the post in just a minute. But let me see really quick. I want to show you an example of this. Let me see here. Because I did this on purpose for this training this week, and it doesn't even have to always be your face. I think sometimes we get this like, oh, every single post is a selfie kind of mentality, and it doesn't have to be. I will say your face is what people want to see. You have to have a balance in all of this. It never is all or nothing. You can't have all your face and none of anything else, and you can't have none of your face and all of something else. Those are two big things that I see a lot of coaches really struggle with. And a lot of times when there's none of your face, it's because you're not being brave enough to be vulnerable. Like that's just all it is. And that comes with sucking it up, pushing post, and closing the laptop, turning the phone off. Like if you post a big scary post, I give you 100% permission to turn your phone off, post it, and then turn your phone off for an hour. Like it's okay to do that. There's a couple of examples, like I said, that I would really want to show you guys. Let me screen share really quick. Like I said, I did this on purpose so that I could show you guys this. Let's see here. Getting people post a lot of things. Gracious, come on. Now watch, I'm not going to be able to find it. Oh, here we go. So here's this post from the other day that I posted. It's literally where I'm sitting right now. Curtains, flowers. It's just pretty. It was a rare occasion that my table was cleaned off. Typically there's stuff on my table, so my table had been cleaned off. I was working on a blog post, and I wrote, "Sure as heck beats the mall I worked in for 7 years, or the basement in the Alumni Center at Lynchburg College, or the 1960s era newspaper office with the carpet walls." That visual imagery, people can picture what I'm talking about when I say a 1960s era newspaper office with carpet walls. Like when I say that, your mind automatically paints a picture of what that looks like, and you feel like you were there, even for just a glimpse. The Alumni Center at Lynchburg College. At that point, I'm telling people where I went to college, where I worked. I worked in a mall for 7 years. Again, you have a picture of what you think a mall looks like, and your mind automatically goes there. And then you look at this picture, and it's nothing like any of those images. So now I've told people 3 things about me that maybe they knew, maybe they didn't know. And I've painted this, and I've given them an imagery of what my life looks like now. This doesn't take any level of income success in Beachbody to post this. It's not, I think that's what a lot of times what people get a little scared about is, well, I haven't had income success yet, so I can't talk about the grand trips. I can't talk about paying off a car. But you can talk about what's changed about your work environment. You can talk about what's changed about your home life. You can talk about lots of bits and pieces until you build that income that you can talk about. That's another, I'm hoping that So I'm going to go into a couple of examples since I have these up right now. An income post, because I know that that's a big, scary, hairy thing for people to post about. Number one, people are terrified to post about money because they think other people are going to think something about them, which is ridiculous. Like when you say that out loud, like who cares what other people think about you? It's social media. Like as long as you're not lying and you're being truthful, who cares what other people think about you? It's not about that. It's about connecting with that one person that needed to hear that. So this is a really great storytelling post from Jacqueline. She did it back in 2015. So, I mean, it stuck with me that much that 3 years later, I'm pulling this back out in a training because it was so good. So she posted this picture of a washer and dryer being delivered. And she talks about, I promised Mike I would put a disclaimer on this picture. It's not my birthday present. Haha. It just coincident delivered on my birthday. So here we go. I typically subscribe to the if it's not broken, then why fix it mentality. So we've kept them, her old washer and dryer. Before we moved to Kauai, it became apparent it was time. There was a time so now she's talking about her past, not a time in our not so distant past that I would have had to say we could either go on a trip or pay cash for a new washer and dryer. But now, so this is the found, but now we didn't even have to think twice. I could pick out which ones I really wanted and go on our brand new and go on our new trip. This may not be a huge deal to some, but for me, this is part of the freedom that has come with creating my business from home has allowed. Paying cash for a week-long vacation in Kauai and a new washer and dryer upon returning home is a great feeling. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just sharing this to show you there is another way, a way to live debt-free, save for rainy day expenses, travel, and save. So right there, she has told you a story. She's connected it with this cute little image, and she put out a coaching opportunity post. Like right there. If you are the woman scrolling in her bed at night or sitting on the couch with your kids in the afternoon and you're scrolling Facebook and your washer and dryer is just taking a crap on you, and she just bought one with cash from income that she made at home while still able to be with her kids, that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's that me too. Like, oh, I wish that was me. I want to do that. Those people are then going to reach out to her. But again, even if no one reaches out to her, there were, let's see, 69, 70, 71, 72. 72 people that like that image. 72 people that during her power hour, she gets to go and connect with. She doesn't have to talk about her washer and dryer. She doesn't have to talk about coaching. All she has to do is connect with them, open that door, and then if the conversation is going to lead that way, it's going to lead that way. All she has to do is say, like, oh, did you see I got the LG washer? Isn't that what you guys have? Or have you ever tried the LG washer? Oh my gosh, I love it. Like, then it becomes a natural, fluid conversation instead of this forced, hey, so I have this coaching opportunity I'd love for you to take a look at. That people are going to close it out and be like, no thanks. So that is a really, really great way to share a story about this. Let's see. I pulled a couple more examples. Let's see. So this is, again, feel, felt, found. Does anyone else suffer from the midday lull? So she felt lulled in the midday. I had to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 off the couch, grab my superfoods before I reach for sugar or some other snack that would have derailed me. She's talking about how she felt and how she's found a solution. That's a very short little snippet. She's not saying Shakeology, and I will take this opportunity right now. Let me stop share real quick because I want to make this very, very, very abundantly clear. There is a lot of ways to be a Beachbody coach. I'm not saying any of them are wrong. But one of the biggest helpers in my business was when I stopped using Beachbody's name, when I stopped using the name of my workout, when I stopped using the name Shakeology, and I talked about what it was doing for me. I called it my superfood smoothie or all kinds of little things to say, my mid-afternoon pick-me-up, all kinds of things that I could say about it. But I did not use the word Shakeology. And I know that seems like I had a coach one time that was like, well, that's kind of sneaky, don't you think? And it's not sneaky. What it is attraction marketing and curiosity marketing. What you're wanting is for people to ask you questions. Even if it's not the question, Amanda, I'll totally throw you under the bus here because you and I were talking the other day about a woman who came up to you at church and said, hey, don't you do that Beachbody stuff? Amanda doesn't use the word Beachbody in her stuff, or I think that's what it was, but she said, right, Ish? Here, unmute yourself and explain.
No, she had asked if I was a Beachbody coach.
Okay.
She knew I was doing something, but she wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know how to use Beachbody at all.
Yeah, you do a beautiful job of that. And so that's what I mean. Like, you're inviting a conversation because the type of coaches, Team Nourished coaches are not, is a link drop coach. There's lots of link drop coaches. You can literally go on Amazon and buy Beachbody products. You can go to the Goodwill, probably in fine T25 sitting on a shelf. We're not selling a product. We are selling us. We're selling our services. We're selling our groups. We're selling our community because we know the power of those things. We know hundreds of people, thousands probably, who have bought Beachbody workouts that collect dust on a shelf. Buying a workout is not the point of what we do. If you're here to sell a workout and to sell a shake, you're most likely in the wrong team. Like, I hate saying that because I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I'm in the wrong team. But that's the truth. And you have to really look hard at what your motivation is in that. Yes, does our service come with a cost? Of course it does. But that's not the point. The point of what we do is to provide support and community. The way we are paid as coaches is through commission and team bonuses as you build a team. That's all there is to it. And so link dropping, like one of the worst things, and I will hand to Jesus say I've done it and it's not okay. I used to, when I very first started coaching, I would write this really pretty post, and then I would put a link at the bottom of the post, and I'd even conceal it. I'd even go to linktree.com and create a short little link, or bit.ly, the little links. And I would copy and paste my T25 challenge pack link and put it straight up in my post because I didn't want to have to talk to people. I just wanted someone to buy something from me. And that's not what this is. And my business went nowhere. I mean, just point blank, did occasionally people buy something? Yeah, occasionally. You're going to hit something sometime. But did my paycheck get bigger incrementally every month? Heck no. And I felt distant and disconnected from my customers. They were not seeing success, so they weren't telling other people about me. No one knew what I was doing. I was just dropping links. And I understand why, because creating relationships takes work. And that's what it is. And to be very honest, a lot of people don't want to do that work. And that's okay if you're going to be a hobby coach or you're going to be a discount coach. I'm not asking you to form relationships with people in that way. But if you're going to be a business building coach, that's relational. That's what coaching is. There are lots of other companies you can go out and sell a lot of different things and make an income from. That's not what this is. This is a business of forming connections with others, helping them in an authentic way. So let's go back to sharing a couple examples because I really liked some of the examples I picked. Let me get that off of the thing here. So another one is Meredith's. So again, we're talking about breadcrumbing. We're talking about a couple of little things here. So a little after, so she's got a very nicely lit photo. And again, I'm going to go back and kind of touch briefly on some photo techniques that help people engage with you. But I do want to kind of highlight that she's got a very nice looking picture here. A little afternoon yoga flow, because I can't think of a better way to get me back on a holiday, to get back to me on a holiday weekend and have a little focused alone time. Here's her story. So again, we're looking at bits and pieces of Meredith's story because you want people, by the time that you talk to them or by the time that they reach out to you, to feel like they know you. My home practice is very sacred to me. It's actually where I first learned yoga. A friend gifted me a yoga DVD, which was the gateway into what became a passion pursuit that turned into a part of my career. Again, you're linking the past to the present. Ever heard the saying, your passions aren't just your hobbies, they're your calling? If you ever dreamed of what it might be like to help others or to have your own online wellness coaching, all of that. So this is a direct coach invite. So what Jacqueline did would be indirect. This is a direct coach invite, an opportunity post, a very direct opportunity post. If you're interested in this, reach out to me. But by posting this photo, talking about yoga and talking about her practice and how she started her practice, her audience, her avatar is yogis. They are women who are wellness, warrior, yoga, Ayurvedic people. That's who she's speaking to. And those people get that language. So it's important to use the language of the people that you're wanting to receive your message. So I also wanted to touch on transformation posts because we get a lot of those as new coaches. And it's really easy to put up a program transform. When I don't ever want to say it's easy. It's never, ever easy to put up a transformation post. Even like I said, I've been doing this 3.5 years. It took me, so I started my first program May 1st of 2014. And then I just kind of continually rolled into program after program after my first T25 one. I never posted my T25 transformation photos outside of a private challenge group. I don't even think I did that until I did a second round of T25. And I started coaching in November of 2014. I don't think I put an actual like what we're talking about here with Megan's. I don't think I actually put a transformation post up until May of 2015. So I coached for 5, 6, 7 months without ever posting a transformation photo. I will tell you, I had very inconsistent Success Club points. I'm talking, I think I hit Success Club 1 month out of those 7. I don't even think I know for a fact there were months in there that I got 0 Success Club points, even though I was hosting a challenge group. I just was like, oh, nobody ever wants to do anything with me. I can't get anybody to connect with me. Well, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't telling a story. I wasn't even inviting them. I was posting stuff and hoping someone would reach out to me. And occasionally they did. Like I said, occasionally I got 2 Success Club points. Occasionally I got 4. On a very rare occasion, I would get 6 and I'd be like, woohoo, I'm done for the month. We're good here. Which is just laughable now, but that's the reality of it. It took me a long time to get comfortable, and I'll never forget, I posted that transformation post, and like I said, I give you full and 100% permission to post it, turn it off, and go do something in real life and run. Just go away from it, because I was terrified, you guys. I posted it and was like, all I could think was Satan was going, oh, look, they're going to look at you and think, oh, she's in a sports bra. Oh, I don't even think I was in a sports bra. I think I was in a t-shirt. Like, oh, how vain. Was she all about herself? Like, I mean, those lies that get in there, and they make a little seed in there. And even now, 3.5 years into this, I still look at I will still post a transformation photo, turn my phone off, and go do something else. I don't post it because I want a lot of people to go, woo, good job, you're doing so great. I post a transformation photo for that woman who needs hope. That's why I do it. And that's why it's important that we continue to show up and continue to do this. This is one of Megan's, and this is one of her epic posts. In here, she's talking about, I wasn't always fit. I'm just going to skim it. The fact most of my adult life, I would say I was pretty out of shape. As I got older, my body began to change. I continued to eat like an 18-year-old college athlete. So there she's giving you another piece of her story. She was a college athlete. During my pregnancy or months of infertility, that's another connective tissue. So now she's connecting to former college athletes who, and maybe not those 2 pieces, but former college athletes and women who struggle with infertility. Now she has a little child. During my pregnancies, I was so tired and sick that I gained more weight. Plus, I lived across the street from a shopette. So she's telling people she's a military spouse. Used breastfeeding. She's telling people that she breastfed. Again, you're weaving these pieces into these stories. Hazel was 6 months old and the baby weight just wasn't coming off. So again, now she's talking about how she felt. My clothes didn't fit right. Then usually the word is, but one day I decided enough and I made a change. And then she goes into what made the change. Healthy weight loss is not something that happens overnight. You see what I'm saying? But she posted all of this in an effort to connect with women who fit these bits and pieces of her story. Now, here's what I will say about this, and this is no ding to Megan whatsoever. This is probably one of, like I said, the epic ones. You can always post a transformation without a ton of this information. You can always post it with a little, and I'm not saying that she should have in this instance, but you can always do that. Don't feel like every transformation post has to be this long, epic, and this isn't even that long, but this epic post. It could have been just this, feel, felt, found. This is how I feel now. This is how I felt. This is what I found to help me feel that way. That's all it is. I will say, like, using those those words probably are going to seem scripted. So you're going to want to, work on the wording a little bit, but it doesn't have to be every single bit of your story. I will say there is a lot of power in sharing, I would say once a month, your full story, like from beginning to the end to today, your full story. It's going to be a longer version. You don't have, when I say full story, I'm not saying you have to talk about, well, when I was 6 years old and like, but a synopsis of your story, because if you're doing your job as a coach and if you are adding to your network, there are going to be brand new people that don't know your full story. So you need to have told them at some point within that month your full story, so that, again, they feel like they know you. I'll say this really quick in that. Something that I have found really helpful in that, and I know nobody's going to like that I say this, but going live on your personal or business, however you're connecting, Instagram, whatever you're doing to connect with your clientele, going live there is super important, because you want, when they read your post, to read it with your voice in their head, not their voice. You want it to sound like you, because then again, you're forging that connective tissue with you. I will never, ever forget. And it truly was a very proud moment for me when I had a woman I had never met face to face. We were on social media together, walk up to me at a play date and say, "Oh, I feel like I know you already. I just feel like," she said, "I watch your Car Rider Line Confessions, and I just feel like I know you. I feel like you're my best friend already." And I'm like, that is what I want people to feel. That is, and oddly enough, or not oddly, she joined our coaching team. Like, that just, because she feels a connection. And Meredith says it all the time, and I love it. And I'm sure she didn't coin the phrase, but she talked about, she talks about, facts tell, stories sell. Stories are what sell what we do. Facts, you can list, to be honest, Google is a thing. People know how to Google what are the ingredients in Shakeology. What is a beach body workout I should do if I've had knee surgery? They don't care about, they do care about the facts, but that's not what sells them. What sells them is you, and what this community and what this opportunity, or whatever it is you're discussing, has done for you. That's what's important. So I'm going to wrap this up real quick. But I will say two more little things. Number one, kind of capstone all of this, and you can post the best and have the best social media. I did this incredible social media training with this guy. I paid for it. Like, it was good social media training. And the example of the girl who he was using has a beautiful social media site. I was completely discouraged when he showed me what her actual business netted. I was like, well, that's great. You got 15,000 followers on your business page, but why are you an Emerald coach who's barely hitting Success Club 5? Like, so that tells me right there, you can have the best social media you can ever have, but if you aren't following it up with inviting and connecting with people in a private manner, your business isn't going to go anywhere. End of story. You cannot ever expect people to just, and I hated when one of the top coaches did this in one of her trainings, but I understand what she's saying. As a newer coach, and when I say newer, I mean I don't even feel like I qualify in this category yet. You haven't earned the right for people to just sign up with you. That's not something that you've earned. There are people who have earned that right, who have spent years and years and years developing a following, developing what's called lifers, people that would literally buy shoes for a man with no feet kind of people. Those are the kind of people that are just going to click on your button and buy stuff without you actually having to reach out to them. But I have not earned that right. There are, I bet I know 5 coaches in this entire network that I've personally met that have earned that right. And even then they will say, I still go through dry months where I have to actually physically invite people. Like, if I want to move my business more than where the current pace, Now, I still got to get out there and invite. So to think that your post was so great that you don't have to go invite is ridiculous. Like, that's just not the way this, again, that's not a relationship. That's a link drop. And that's not what we do. A last little thing about images, because I do really want, let me go back to screen sharing really quick and show you a couple of things about images. Because I feel like that's really, really, really important. Number one thing is social media is visual. It is a visual thing. If people want to read text, they go to Twitter, they go somewhere else. They don't go to Facebook and they don't go to Instagram. So posting without an image in 2018 is not effective. I would say if you're posting more than 3 posts a week that don't have an image, you will get shuffled down in the algorithm real quick. It's okay occasionally to post something without an image. I would always recommend that whatever you post is a personal thing that has nothing to do with business, like a funny story about your kid that doesn't need an image, or something about a TV show that you're watching, or like, oh my gosh, I cried so hard at This Is Us. Nobody needs to see your crying face. Like, we know what your face looks like. We can imagine tears. Nobody needs to be like, I mean, I guess you could do that, but that seems a lot. Using those cute little Facebook, what are they, backgrounds for text, a great way. But you've got to get people to stop. You've got to get people to stop, because they aren't stopping for your words. They just aren't. End of story. I hate to break it to you, but they don't stop for your words. They stop for your picture. And research has shown there are certain aspects of pictures that make people stop more than others. Number one is the face. People will stop and look at a face. It's human nature to look at faces. That's I love your face, Amanda. That's just human nature. The other thing is good lighting. Good lighting. So get yourself in front of a window. I would hesitate to say turn on good lights. Go outside if you need to. Get in front of your door. Open your door up. Natural lit photos will always look better. Always, always, always. I struggle because I do a lot of food photography, and a lot of that happens at night, at dinner time, right? So obviously there's not a big sunshiny outside. So I bought one of those clip-on lights, and I will clip it on here and turn it on and photograph my food this way so that it's well lit. Because if you're photographing food or an object, people need to see what it is. It can't look like brown mush on a plate. No, but that's not appetizing. You want people to see and envision themselves enjoying that plate of food. So well-lit pictures is a hallmark of social media. You see the lighting on Maggie's face? Well-lit. Guaranteed she's standing in front of a window. This is kind of obvious that it's well-lit because it is technically in front of a window. Jackie's outside in the sunshine. Meredith is definitely, this is one of her branding things, is that she has blinds in her house, and she's talked about it in trainings before. She loves the way her body looks with those lines on it. So she uses that in her brand, and that's great. It's a part of her brand. But again, this also looks, just knowing from a graphic design perspective, it looks like she also had to adjust the lighting after the photo was taken. So then you're looking at an app. My favorite app to adjust lighting is either Snapseed, Snapseed, or Afterlight. Both of those are all one word. They're two different apps. But they're going to allow you to play with the contrast, the brightness, the levels, that kind of thing. And you don't have to know a lot about what you're doing. Just sit and play with it. Play until it looks well lit. I mean, you know what attracts you when you see a social media post. So start doing what attracts you. What makes you stop and read? Start noticing those things about what makes you stop and read a post. Those were things that really began to help me shift in my photography. I put big air quotes around photography because I'm not a photographer at all. But I use Snapseed on this one to give it, so instead of the silhouette, or no, what is it called? I can't think of what the name of it. It's not a silhouette, but where there's like a black rim around it, Snapseed has one that gives you a white rim around it. This was a dark picture, but that added light from the whiteness is bright. Snapseed does something with your eyes that makes them look really good, and I like that. That kind of picture, well lit, that will stop people. That's why there's 24 people, because I promise you the majority of people don't start with reading what I wrote. They just don't. Then there's always going to be bad lighting. This is a really good example of a really poorly lit photo. When this photo was taken, I was almost completely dark because it's so bright outside. There was a very heavy shadow on my body. So I had to play with that a lot in probably Afterlight or Snapseed to get any kind of light on that photo at all. I'm trying to see if there's any other well lit versus really not well lit photos. Let me see. Yeah, this is poorly lit. I mean, it's very flat, very yellow, but we're in a restaurant. It's at night. It's not, it's not really integral to my brand. It's not like every single photo you post has to be like incredibly well lit, but this is another one. So this is a filter and Afterlight. This is a poorly lit photo, so I added a goofy filter in it. It's Halloween. I was like, oh, orange and red, that seems like it works. Super poorly lit, like really, really poorly lit photo. But so that's kind of some little touching on things about photos, because like I said, when someone, no, it's so rare that what you say stops people. It's so much more common. And again, take into effect what you do and your patterns and your habits on social media. And I will say this, you can get away a whole lot easier with a poorly lit photo on Facebook than you can on Instagram. Instagram is image, like that's all it is. So having a crappy photo on Instagram, no one will ever look at it except probably your mom. Like, and she'll click like, because she's like, oh, that's my baby girl. Like, and maybe like 2 friends, and I'll click like because I love you. Like that kind of thing. But to get other people to stop and read what you have to write, you've got to present a good photo. So, all right, guys, we have about 10 minutes, and I would love for you guys, Kim and Amanda, to unmute yourself and ask a little bit about storytelling, whatever, let me expand on some stuff. Like I said, we got about 10 minutes. So feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah. Did I give you too much to write notes on? It's a lot.
Just a question, like when you're posting your epic posts, since they are longer, do you recommend to post them in the morning or in the evening?
So that depends on your audience. Everyone's audience is a little different, and it also kind of depends on what the post is about. I find transformation posts do really, really well in the morning. Not right now, please. Not right now. I'm on a training call, okay? I told you that. So I find that transformation posts go really, really well in the morning. So I would say for me and my audience, and that's something you have to kind of notice, and you can even look back at trends in your own social media to see when the majority of people are clicking like if you had a really, and I have done this so much, and I think that this is really valuable to say too. If you post something and it's good, like you're like, that was a great post. But no one, or like 2 people have interacted with it. It might be that you posted it at a bad time. Delete it. Copy and paste it to the notes on your phone. Delete the post and come back and try it again. Try it at night. I find that, and again, this is a total audience thing, but posts about coaching opportunities typically land better in the evenings. Any kind of reflective post lands pretty well in the evenings. But again, you have to also look at your avatar, and you might like really, so when I did my avatar training, I actually picked a person that was not a coach on my team that I deeply desired to be a coach on my team. She's no longer a coach on the team, but that's neither here nor there, but she's still my avatar even today. Like, she's still exactly who I picture being an ideal coach. I looked at her Facebook. When does she post? When is she online? I want to see what she does. That's when I'm going to post, because I want her, that person, to see my post. And again, it's not like she's the only person that's going to see your post. Lots of people are going to see it. But you're speaking to her, and lots of people will respond to that, because a lot of people would identify as quote unquote her. Another really little like marketing, it's not sneaky, it's just marketing, posts about the coach opportunity, direct coach opportunity posts. Like, I would love to talk to you more about joining my team. We are having a coach sneak peek on blah, 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 Sunday night when people don't want to go back to work. End of story. Sunday night, every single person who works outside of the home that hates their job is scrolling social media, avoiding their actual reality, and need to see that there's something else, that there's something different, that, you know, everybody isn't living that life. So that's a really good, you know, and then again, kind of timing it around. I personally, like, especially if you're going to do a food post, because I know like our team has a lot to do with food and nutrition and stuff like that. Food posts typically go over well. Like, I will do, I've kind of done it a couple ways. So sometimes I'll do a dinner post at night, but I won't post the recipe at night. I'll like for example, the one that I did the other day, that worked really well on my my Facebook. Which one was that? What did I make? I made something. Let me see if I can find it now. But that was like exactly the way that I would want my food post to go. This one. Oh, you can't see it. I don't have share screen on this one. So this food post right here. Working on a new recipe tonight. So this is at dinner time. Well, after dinner time, 9:14 p.m. So hearty and healthy. Anyone want the recipe? So I didn't post the recipe that night, because at 9:15 at night, nobody's getting ready to make dinner. Mm-hmm. I want to give them that when they're planning to make dinner. What are we going to have for dinner tomorrow night? That's when I want to give them what they're looking for. Same goes for breakfast. At night is a really great time to post a breakfast thing. Like, if you did some kind of meal prep for your breakfast the next morning, post about it the night before, because then people are already like, oh man, she's already got breakfast figured out. I need to get on that train. So meal prep things go up Saturday, Friday, you know, whenever you're doing them, I feel like is a good time, any time to do a meal prep post, because people are always like, oh, I need help with that. So what about you, Kim? Do you have any questions?
I am really just absorbing, and so, you know, just more intentional about how I'm structuring the posts, and like the forethought that's involved in it, like you just said. So
let me give you guys another little tip that I've learned over the years, because inspiration does not strike me when I need it. Mm-hmm. Very, very rarely does inspiration for a really good post strike me when I need it. Most often I get struck with inspiration about 11:15 at night, 10:45, laying in bed, and I'm like, and my mind will make these connections to something that happened random during the day, and all of it, you know, all that stuff is replaying in your head. And for me, it actually, I find it very helpful to journal at night. So either I have a notebook by my bed, or I use the notes function. And that happened, it was really kind of crazy. I'm going to get to my notes section really quick on my phone, because I have them back from, gosh, ever and ever and ever ago. But I mean, yeah, we're looking at, And even if I don't get a big, long, written out thing that comes to me that I feel like is, I personally believe it's a divinely inspired kind of thing. But again, posting that at 11:15 at night is that's not appropriate. It's not going to do anything. I need to post it when people are going to see it. So for a long, long time, when I was building an audience on Facebook, I would copy and paste that into my morning post. I used to not do a workout post in the morning, and you may want to experiment with that. That's something that some people find really effective with their market, and some people don't. For a long time, I did not post about my workout every morning. I might post something about it during the day, but I think it works really well for me right now. But if it doesn't, then I'll stop. Like, and it's okay. You don't have to get fixated in this pattern of I have to post this thing every single day. Like, you know, but I will say once you start showing up and doing something very, very consistently, you'll get notified. People will message you and be like, oh, I didn't see your workout post today. Are you feeling okay? Like, I've literally had people ask me if I'm sick because I didn't post. I'm like, yeah, I had a busy morning. Back off. Yeah, or I'll get little snippets. Again, I believe these are divine snippets. I don't believe that my mind is smart enough to conjure these things up. I believe that the Lord sends them to me. But talking about diamonds being refined, similar to a diamond in this business, constant polishing and refinement, iron sharpening iron, what kind of friend are you, that kind of thing. I'll take little notes at different times of day when things, trying to find some other, a lot of them were on my my old phone. See what can be, not just what is. That was one that I wrote at night. Like, I was just laying there talking about like how cool it is. And in my head, I'm replaying all the things that have happened through my day. And one of the things that had happened was that someone had sent me this message about like, it's really cool that you could see that I had this in me before I ever saw it in me. Like, and I thought, God, that is the best thing about coaching, is that I get to be that person that saw that in someone else and called that out in them and made a space for them to thrive in. Like, how exciting is that? I mean, I sure as heck didn't get that in a newspaper office.
Right.
It was all suppression all the time. So that's another thing that has really helped me. The other thing that has really helped me is copying and pasting other coaches' posts. And I will say, when I say paste, use that word real liberally. I will copy them and paste them and edit them. So Danielle, this is a really good example of that. So Danielle Natoni, who is one of my favorite Beachbody coaches of all time, she just speaks my language. You know, you find those coaches that speak your language. Let me see if I can find the photo that went with that, and I will show you exactly, which part of my post is what she said. They were her words, not mine. Let's see here. No, it was when Matt and I went on our date. This one. Oh, and another thing is, take lots and lots and lots of photos, and don't think you have to post them right away. You don't have to post, like, take a great photo and save it for another time. I do that all the time. I wrote Nourish Your Love. She wrote Life Gets Hectic. There's work and kids and all the responsibilities of adulting. Always find time to nourish your love. Press pause on those are all her words. This part's all her words. Like, this is very copy and pasted. This part's not. I did write Nourish Your Love. This part's mine, and this part's mine. You see what I'm saying? Like, I found snippets in what she wrote and made them applicable to me. The fact that she uses the word nourish and my brand is nourish, I have to use that. Like, and I don't think she's skimming my social media and going, oh, Danielle Porter using my post again. Like, she doesn't care.
More post,
Yeah. But I will say, when you copy and paste, be so careful that someone's name is not in there, because you don't want your thing talking about your husband, and your husband's name is Jeremy and their husband's name is Matt, and they wrote Matt in their post and you just copy and pasted my husband, Matt. Because I've seen some really bad examples of coaches copying and pasting. And the other thing about copying and pasting is, don't ever copy and paste one coach's post continuously. Don't ever pick one coach and only copy. I mean, that's plagiarism. Mm-hmm. That's taking their ideas and using them as your own. Use them for inspiration. Don't plagiarize. And I will very regularly copy and paste stuff to the notes in my phone, because sometimes what they write, like I think I read that from hers back at like the very beginning of February, and I just hung on to it until I could use it. It doesn't have to be right when you come up with it. And I would encourage you to have a kind of a running library of ideas for posts. So does anybody have any more questions before we wrap this up?
A lot of good stuff. I have to process it all.
Well, I know it's a lot, but I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share with you guys. But I do kind of want to give you a homework assignment, and anyone watching the recording of this video, I do want to give you a homework assignment, because I think this is vital, vital, vital. Last screen share. Let's see. There was this social media team building training that a friend of mine bought into, and she shared this with me because this is part of what they did in that training. This is an interview. So you're going to I will give you permission to do it on your own, but I really think it's better if you're talking to someone else. Because I feel like these questions, it also helps you break that vulnerability barrier, because you got to answer it to somebody, not just write it down. But if you absolutely refuse to get with somebody and interview with them, like at least type out these answers on your own. But these are bits and pieces of a post. There are 95 questions on this interview. It should take you about 2 hours probably if you do it with someone. We're kind of slowly going through it in the little push group that I have, but we'll do like one little section. So you could just do one little section like, hey, Kim and Amanda, y'all want to get together on Tuesday at 3:00, go through early childhood. And you're talking back and forth, but your mind starts making these connections. And there was a really good training by Tess Riles, who's a coach on Jackie's team, who she did a call on storytelling, and she talked about connecting your past and telling a story from even if it's childhood, even if it is early childhood. Like, part of my story is that I had a deadbeat biological father. That has impacted I was raised by a single mother for a lot of my life. I talk about that in my posts all the time in my videos, all the time in my workshops. That's something that people know about me, that a big part of why I am good, the good parts and the bad parts, is because I was raised by a single mother. That is a really big part, and I'm not blaming her for this, but that's a really big part of why I was an obese child. There was a lot of food comforting there. There was a lot of rewards with food. Do this and I'll buy you a Happy Meal. Oh, don't be sad about daddy leaving. Here, eat this. Like, there was a lot of that. So that impacted this part of my story. And these kind of things go back to that. These kind of things are going to start jogging your memory of bits and pieces that you can tell in your story to build connective tissue. I'm going to put this into a document on Team Nourished so you guys can pull from this. But like I said, if you are watching the recording of this, I would encourage you to reach out to somebody on our team or somebody on your personal team and go into this with an interview mentality. I think it would be really, really great benefit to you. So, all right, you guys, let me stop the recording.